We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you. Carissima familia, my dearest family, and you especially elect, in but 2 weeks, yours will be the celebration of Easter, of salvation, as you join with us in seeing that life and all of its challenges does not end in death, but in the glory of God. This illness does not lead to death. Rather, it is for God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Yesterday when I was out walking, I saw a lot of angry people protesting. This pandemic, though, sisters and brothers, will not end in death. This is what we as Christians know, but rather God will be glorified through it. Every place that we enter into the shadow of death, it doesn't end in death. God is glorified through it. We, therefore, stop today and begin Passiontide, these days that will lead us soon through Holy Week into the heart of the glorification of God. And we do it by shutting down the other things that distract us and see the face of Christ as he goes to the cross weeping. And we say, see how much he loves us. 3 words of our Savior emerge from the gospel today that call us into the mystery to see how much he loves us and what he is doing again in and for us right now. The raising of Lazarus will be the straw that breaks the camel's back in the minds of the authorities of the Jewish people and of the Roman occupiers, and will lead to his crucifixion. Yet within this story, we see what happens in Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection, with 3 calls from the Lord. Take away the stone. Lazarus, come out. Unbind him. I first met the power of this gospel when I was a young priest, called to be with a family for the first time as a priest, who had entered into the terrible darkness of the suicide of their child, who was seemingly popular captain, literally, of the football team of my alma mater, Holy Cross, who had shot himself and died slowly while his parents were away. I walked into that home and there was such pain there, such anger, such confusion. And this gospel, which is one of the gospels that the church presents to us as we celebrate the funerals of those who have died, leapt to me, and I brought it to them in the planning for the funeral of their son and presented it to them. Take away the stone. Take away the stone. But Mary says, Lord, already there's a stench because he's been dead 4 days. There was a stench in that house of sadness and heartbreak. Brothers and sisters, we have rooms in our lives that we have put a stone in front of, because in those rooms is the tomb-like smell of death. What's in those rooms? Something we did to someone. Something someone did to us. A relationship that's awry. Sin that still gnaws at us. A hurt that makes us ashamed. Something that smells that we can't deal with. And we don't want to look at, so we just block it away. Today, as for that family facing the horror of the death of their son, as for Lazarus and his sisters, so Jesus today is saying to us, take away the stone from that place of hurt. Take away the stone that stops that festering sin that still lingers even though we've gone to confession and know that God has forgiven us, but the consequence of that sin still is gnawing at us. Jesus says, take away the stone. Do not be afraid. Then the voice of Jesus will sound to us as it sounded to Lazarus. Lazarus, come out. I know you're comfortable living in a world, in a house in which that room of pain, that memory of sorrow, that unconfessed sin is there barricaded away. But come out. Come out. Come into life. And then on the cross, we see that something even more wonderful is happening to us than what happened to Lazarus. Jesus isn't calling from outside the room. Jesus comes into the room, into those places of hurt and sin. He walks in to that smell and that shame to walk us out. What does it cost? Jesus soon will find himself on his knees before the Father, and he will look into that room and see that that room of our brokenness and hurt is a cup filled with the smell of death. And he knows more than we do what it smells like. And he asks, Father, if it be your will, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to drink that cup. But your will be done. It is the will of the Father that the eternal Son should walk into those rooms, that room of death and pain in my heart, in my life, in each of our hearts, in each of our lives. Indeed, unimaginable though it may be, Jesus is going to walk into that room of the pain and shame and hurt of every human being who has ever lived or will live. What a stench, what a pain, what wondrous love. That on the cross, we see him walking to say, not from the outside, but from the inside, come out. And we find ourselves walking with Jesus out. And in the light, Jesus doesn't leave us alone. Unbind him, he says. Unbind her, he says. And we find ourselves in a church community who surround us and help us unwrap, strand by strand, layer by layer, each of our pains. Elect of God, this is the community that Jesus is bringing you in. People of God, we are that community, won by the Lord to unwrap the bonds that bind each other with our mercy and care and prayer and penance. What wondrous love is this, O my soul? See how he loves you. See how he loves me. See how he loves us. That he takes the chalice and he drinks the chalice. And on the cross, he rolls away the stone and he enters the tomb and he brings us out into this resurrected, merciful community. What wondrous love is this? Let us give to these days the honor that is due to Jesus, and let us bow quietly and humbly before such love.